Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Jay. Good morning. It is Sunday when I'm filming this, and I thought that we could work on a fun little card that was actually a challenge in one of the groups I belong to. It's a puzzle slider card.
This card is originally credited to Sue Canfield.
So I can walk you through the pieces I have. I'll put the measurements down below. We have a main piece, which is our card base, and then let me just grab measurements here so I am correct.
And if you like this kind of video, it would be awesome if you could comment below or hit the like button. And if you'd like to keep apprised of all the happenings on the channel, there's also a link down below to subscribe to my email list.
This is 9.5 by 4 1/4. Then we have two of the smaller pieces. These are 2 1/4. I'm sorry, 2 1/8 by 2 1/4. And then these slightly larger ones are 2 1/8 by 3 1/4. So what essentially is going to happen is we're going to make like a gatefold out of this card base, and then these smaller and larger pieces are going to puzzle piece together. And to help facilitate that, I grabbed a single sheet of designer series paper. This was a by the Bay collection, which I think is maybe a year or two old at this point, but it seemed to go well with this color, which is the Shy Shamrock. I'm sorry, no, this is Summer Splash. But I really liked sort of the darker blues against the sort of tealier blue in the Summer Splash. Anyway, this is 5 inches by 3 3/4. So these are cut at 2 inches respectively, and then the other piece is 3 inches. So this should come together pretty quickly. And I won't put all the measurements in the description box because I know it's kind of annoying sometimes to try and write everything down while the video is going on. I also took a little of the excess paper. This all got cut from one sheet, so it's really paper efficient. And I stamped the Thinking of You, which is a new, I guess I shouldn't say a new sentiment, but it is from the releasing on July 3rd Everyday Greetings set that sort of coordinates with the green and gold Christmas collection. So if you saw my unboxing, that is what that is from. So we need to do a little bit of scoring. Oh, and I also have some reverse tweezers, which may be helpful in holding this card while we do some gluing. Anyway, let me just grab a score. I'm grabbing the scoreboard because it kind of fits on camera a little easier, but certainly this would work in your trimmer as well. I am going to hopefully score at the right. I'm going to score at 1. That is not a very clean score. Let's try this again. I'm going to score at 1. There we go. And we're going to score at 2. And we're going to flip this around. And the first fold is going to be a mountain, and the second fold is going to be a valley. So, if you're one of those folks who prefers to make sure that it's scored as correctly as possible, you can flip this over to do the inside score lines, but I don't think it's going to matter a ton. And then we just basically accordion fold this. So you can see I'm not too worried about this over like wonky score line because basically we're going to glue these pieces on top of it so people won't really see this. But I will grab my bone folder here quick, and I'm just going to reinforce those score lines, both on the top and the bottom. And I'm doing a pretty simple version of this card. If you wanted to embellish with a whole bunch of die cuts, you could certainly do that. But I thought it would be fun to just sort of show a basic version. And what we want to do is look at our pattern paper if it's in any way directional. Like this one is, I mean, the paper isn't directional, but the shells kind of line up with each other. So I kind of want to use this as a guide to figure out where I want to glue things. So this piece is going to go here. You can put glue on this whole top side, basically, if that's or you can glue these one at a time too. It's really whatever's easier for you. So I'm just going to do that, and then I'm going to, if I feel, kind of line this up. We may wind up having to do some trimming later, so I'm going to put one of these down. And then if you want to use your tweezers to keep this in place, what you do is you just lock them down, and that'll help this dry. And then I'll grab one of these shorter pieces, These are a little tricky because I want to make sure that I'm using the right dimension. And then I'm just going to carefully puzzle piece this together like that. So we have a small side and a long side. Then we're just going to repeat this. I'm just going to, there's a little hanging thread that I just got off of here. Of course, if you want to be a little more precise than I've been, you could certainly go back through and you can sand the edges with like just an emery board from the dollar store. So I'm just going to flip this over and then we're going to puzzle piece this together. These are meeting quite nicely, which is always a good thing. Um, if you do wind up having overhangs or weird bits, it's fine. We can just trim them off. Can see I'm going to have a little bit of overhang on the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure the glue is dry. But I'm going to grab my guillotine and just trim this bottom edge. And I think this works better in a guillotine trimmer, but obviously, if you prefer the drop-in blade, you can do that. It just gets a little trickier, in my opinion, to line this up. For this, we just basically make sure that we are square and just get any funky bits off the edge, and then we just trim it down, and it is done. And there we go. As always, I'd recommend you use whatever tools you like the best, honestly. And this is our puzzle slider, and this would hold open like this. And we're probably going to want to cut a mat to go on the inside here. So let me see if I have white close at hand. I do. Fantastic. I'll just bring this guy in and cut this to 5 1/4, which it almost is already. And then do that by 4. And if you wanted to watermark this, you certainly could do that. Like I would grab one of the Seaside Wishes has been great for that. Where in the past we've just been able to basically stamp pick a color you like. Summer Splash would be great here just because it would match everything. Um, but you could also do it in pretty much any of the in colors or any sort of green or blue will probably work fine. So I'm just going to fold this back for a second, and then we are going to just line up our panel on the inside. I'm just going to go for sort of center mass here. This is slightly wider, so if you wanted this, you could probably make this inside panel a 1/4 inch wider, but I like the look, and it gives you a nice place to write something. So, really, the rest of this is just gluing down these pieces on the flaps. You could do this either with wet glue or dry adhesive, whichever you prefer. And we just want to make sure that we get our pattern lined up, which is why I like wet glue for stuff like this, because it gives you just that little bit of extra fudge time while you're getting things together. And once this is cut, if you do have sort of like a scene pattern like this, it makes it easy because you can just sort of put your pattern back together. I do find often that these sort of scene papers can be a little more difficult to use, so I really like using them on things like this. Now, I'm not sure which, I think it goes this direction, but we will see. I am wrong, I believe. Something like this obviously gets a little more tricky because what we have to do is see that's where this was cut, so I almost put this on backwards. If I did, you probably couldn't have noticed the difference too much because There's not really a big, there's not a big shell that would like throw you off. And I didn't do it on the other side, but it's a nice trick to kind of line up your sides of your pattern paper as well. That in this case makes this a little uneven, but I think that will be fine. And if you have anything that you really don't like how it looks, you can figure out where to put your sentiment as a result of that. I kind of like it on the short piece so that it hangs over like this because I think it'll be a fun look. Um, so what I'm going to do now, you could pop this up. I think I'll leave this flat because there's already a lot of movement here, but you could certainly pop this up on dimensionals. I'm only going to put glue on the left-hand side, and I'm going to go in about the middle here because I like that look. And that gives you another thing that sort of opens, which I really like. So this was a really straightforward card, even though it looks quite impressive. It stands quite nicely, and it gives you sort of a hidden area to write your message, which I'm always a fan of. So that is the card for today. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments box below, and I will talk to you next time.